Hi, everybody. This is Amy Dinella. Thanks for coming to read today. Today's book was recommended by William, who's the grandson of my next door neighbor, and it's one of his favorite books. Did you ever have something that you really wanted to be able to do and it seemed like everybody else could do it except for you? Well, that's what today's book is about. It's called Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andrede, illustrated by Guy Parker-Ross. Actually, his name is Guy Parker-Rees. See, I make mistakes too, just like everybody does when they're reading. Giraffes Can't Dance. And if you follow along closely in today's book, you'll see that there are two words that I'm going to change as I'm reading through it. See if you can catch them, and I'll explain at the end why I've done that. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked, and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Now, every year in Nigeria, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad, because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. The warthogs started waltzing, and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked toward the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. "Hey, look at clumsy Gerald!" the animals all sneered. "Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool! Oh, Gerald, you're so weird!" Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. "They're right," he thought. "I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot." So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before, so sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. "The moon can be so beautiful," he whispered with a sigh. "Excuse me," coughed a cricket, who'd seen Gerald earlier on, "but sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song." "Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to." With that, the cricket smiled and picked up her violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing round. He threw his arms out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful, his mouth was open wide. "I am dancing, yes, I'm dancing, I am dancing," Gerald cried. Then one by one each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream! Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen." "How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said. when we find music that we love. The end. So that's the end of that story. And did you notice the two words I changed? One of them was that I made the cricket a girl. So instead of saying his violin, I said her violin. The other thing I changed was that the jungle dance, uh, they say it takes place in Africa, and I changed that to Nigeria. And the reason I did that is because Africa is this huge continent. It's got 54 countries in it. Um, and they're all very different, and they have different animals that live there. But Nigeria is right in the center, and it's the biggest country in Africa, and it also has all the animals that show up in the book. So that's a little geography lesson for today, and I hope you enjoyed this book and will come back soon to read with me. Bye.